Good evening, everybody. We call tonight's meeting to order. Ms. Emerald, would you please conduct the roll call? Here. 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 Okay, tonight's meeting is being digitally recorded. Where's tonight's camera? Oh, back here. Thanks to our illustrious Dragonflix. Thank you very much. Hey, Mr. Bell, would you please so kind as to lead us in tonight's Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. Everyone, welcome. Would you please join us in our Pledge of Allegiance? Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. I'd like to just take a moment here to express our gratitude to Dr. Jennifer Lashir and her staff for hosting tonight's meeting. From the looks of it, they did a lot of work, and we appreciate everyone's involvement for providing this venue for everyone to come and be a little more comfortable positions than we had at the boardroom. Okay, number 5 on our agenda is special recognitions, and listed here there are no special recognitions. We'll move on to public comments on agendized or non-agendized items for our open meeting, please. There is a section for comments on our closed session at the end of our open session. So I have one request for comment here for open session, and that's Ms. Rachel Lasoda.
Good evening, board members and the public. The reason I'm asking to speak on the consent agenda is some concerns over the overall operations of the board. As a board, you are a collective governance body that should be acting like a board. And some of the concerns that I had over the past few meetings, there's no dialogue. The direction that's provided is not adequate. As board president, Mr. Marston, you have a board member that is sleeping during 2 meetings, and that is concerning to me. As a board president, you have the ability to contact your legal counsel to ask, how do I deal with a board member that is sleeping, who is not paying attention, who the very children he is entrusted to be making decisions for, they're calling him out that he is sleeping. He's on video, he's on photographs, sleeping. It's completely unacceptable. In regards to that, I think that the board needs to look at their position on how they handle their business. The other 2 issues that I'm concerned about is you have 2 board members who have direct relatives involved in the district. I understand the Brown Act very well, and I understand that you can vote on collective bargaining agreements because it pertains to classes of employees. But with 2 board members that have direct employees, one of which is the vice president of the teachers union as a teacher, her husband is an administrator, that opens a can of worms because administrators are part of management. In return, that creates it's messy. So I'm not so sure, and of course your legal counsel will probably tell you that they can, but I could probably effectively argue that you should not be voting on any matters that pertain to teachers, administrators, and in theory, the superintendent. So I'm a little bit concerned that you don't know where your boundaries are and that you really need to look at that. The final thing that I would like to express some concern about is board members have one direct report employee, and that is your superintendent. At no time can a board member go onto any site and give direction to any classified or certificated employee. That is not your job. If you are doing that, which there's been some concern expressed, then you are out of line. And that is not your place, and you can be held liable because unfortunately, you need to give your superintendent your concerns, and in return, your superintendent passes it on to the management to deal with. But if you're coming onto a campus telling specifically classified employees to change light bulbs or to do something, or telling a teacher they need to do something, you're out of line. And you're crossing what you are allowed to do as a board member. Thank you.
District updates, business services.
Good evening. I'd like to give everyone a brief update on the bond projects. The first one is Temple City High School Phase 1B, which is the new pool locker room modernization and field renovation. The Temple City High School softball team has enjoyed their first win on the new multi-purpose field. The over-excavation of the new pool is complete and the pool drainage is being installed now. The water line rerouting was completed over spring break, and the demo and abatement in the locker room is continuing. At Longden Elementary, the school modernization project, we're in phase 4. There are 8 classrooms that have been completed, and all classrooms are occupied.
Phase 1 for the punch list is complete. The site move was completed over the spring break, allowing the start of demo and abatement on the kindergarten buildings now, rather than waiting for the end of summer. And progress continues on the new elevator and restroom building. Cloverly and La Rosa have a phase 2 coming up. They are both in DSA for revision, and the backtrack should be finished late April or early May. Oak Avenue, we are still reviewing options for Oak. We just learned that we probably won't find out what our state bond money will be until the new governor is in office, which will be late this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Educational services. Is there a report from educational services tonight? Okay. Personnel. Any bargaining units here tonight that wish to make any comments? I see your hand. Ms. Penn? Ms. Penn is with the Unit 105.
Good evening, everyone. I was corrected from my speech the first time we met a few weeks ago. I didn't introduce myself, so I'm going to do that. I'm Robin Penn, and I'm president of CSA 105. And I'm also a secretary at Emperor School. I have a question. I know you can't answer my question during the meeting, but I'm going to state it as a question anyway. I would like to know how any of you think that this is an acceptable way to have Kathy end her career after so many years of service to this district and the community. It was no secret to anyone that Kathy was planning on retiring in the next couple of years, and I know that because we've talked about that we would probably retire together. Was she really causing damage to the district that it would have been harmful if she was superintendent until she made the decision to retire? Look around us. Who can say that the district is not in better condition than it was before Kathy became superintendent? The classrooms get what they need. The offices get what they need and what they want, which means the students have what they need. That wasn't always true. That wasn't true 4 years ago. The construction at all the schools is amazing. If you haven't seen the new classrooms, you really need to see the new classrooms. We have gotten raises, which didn't happen for a long, long time, as well as an increase from the district into our health benefits. Some employees may not be happy with people who have been hired or let go or have left on their own, but don't those personnel orders have to be approved by the board? I'm pretty sure they do. Kathy doesn't make those decisions on her own. There's a personnel department and there's a board that approves all of that action. So I don't even know if I should say this or not. I've been contemplating whether I should even say this paragraph, but I'm just going to allude to the fact that there is rumor of a letter out there that's being shown to certain people that was written from, or by a disgruntled sort of employee, not really a real employee, that was sent to the board. Only the person that has this letter and has shown it to people is not a board member. That's very concerning. It's a board member's relative, but not a board member. That, I've never heard of anything like that happening here before, and it really disturbs me. I heard that from one person this morning. I never mentioned it again, and then 2 other people mentioned it to me just today. So that's a problem. There's been a lot of talk among employees, parents, and community members about a conflict of interest going on here. At first, I didn't buy into that theory because I know the Westgates and the Goulds, and I've been friends with them, and I didn't want to think that that might be a problem. Honestly, now I don't know what to think. Our district is now badly divided, more so than I've ever known it to be. We are sad, we are hurt, we are upset, and we are in despair. No matter what happens from now until you make your decision, because of the way this has come about and has been handled, we are looking at a long road ahead for us to heal. It's going to be very hard. Thank you.
Any other bargaining units here tonight? Okay, move on to our student board member comments.
Good evening. Just some quick updates for the school businesses tonight. The students on ASB held an interclub council meeting to discuss Staff Appreciation Week and what they're doing for their respective advisors. And we also have another committee as part of ASB that is working to recognize our lovely faculty during the appropriate time. We also have an advanced drama production by any name, which is coming out this week, and we're encouraging all students to participate as members of this. Our MPH just finished, released their most recent issue, which tackles the subject of school safety, and yearbook is also working to handle the logistics of their distribution and their fundraiser for the yearbook event. Many students are working towards getting ready for APs, and there are a lot of extracurricular activities which are working on their transition of power between cabinet members and such. That's all for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Board member comments. Mr. Gould, you want to start off?
First of all, I wanted to mention of course everyone else is going to mention too, about the STEAM night, the expo. The kids did an outstanding job on all aspects that they were working on. And also, I just got back from the Oak repertoire, the talent show that they had over at Oak Avenue. Some outstanding talent over there. For the rest of my comment, I wanted to just mention that, like everybody, I go through the Facebook and see a lot of comments about a lot of things and stuff. I don't have too many Facebook things that I look at, but one of them that I do look at is, it's called, Where's My Stethoscope? I was in the respiratory care pediatric field for 40 years, and so, you know, where your stethoscope is basically from nurses and stuff, and all kinds of things of, you know, I just got my license and stuff. But one thing hit me the other day, last Thursday, and it was by a gentleman that wrote, and I'll read this here and then I'll make some other comments on it. Last Saturday, my niece was involved in a fatal hit and run accident. She was hit by two vehicles. The second laid on top of her. She was pronounced DOA, which means dead at the scene, but was able to be revived. She was airlifted to a trauma hospital. She was on life support until the decision was made to allow her to rest in peace. This was her final farewell before turning off the machines to get her prepped for the gift of giving others life. I want to thank all the critical care ICU team who worked on her, and so these angels, the nurses, doctors, and therapists, and everyone else who played a part in helping families like ours cope with the situation and stuff. I spent 40 years, like I said, in the situation, working with the life support equipment, and in this situation hundreds of times, dealing with kids that some make it and some don't, but we always had the opportunity to work as a team, and it was always a team decision. Everybody looked at what was going on and stuff. And the hardest part of it wasn't the child that we lost. It was the dealing with the parents afterwards. No parent should have to lose a child as a tragic situation, but we always dealt with it respectfully and then with dignity. And for someone to say that I don't care about kids, I say I do. And when the opportunity to be at the school district to help our kids in the schools and keep them safe, that was one of the things that I said on my application when I applied for the job, was that I was concerned about the safety and the welfare of all our students. So this is why I'm on the board, and I am looking out for the kids and the staff. Thank you.
Mrs. Huff.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want to say congratulations to Oak Avenue Boys Soccer Team for winning the title of undefeated 2018 champions. I visited our newest California Distinguished School, La Rosa. Congratulations to Mr. Rose, teachers, staff, students, and parents. They will have a fundraiser on April the 30th in which the In-N-Out Burger Truck will be on site. I too went to the STEAM Expo at the high school on Friday. There was so much to do and so much to see, such excitement, it's hard to make a choice where to go first. I watched the Royal Pi Robotics and the Ram Droids robots maneuver the relic recovery area. I talked to the reps from various colleges and watched people making ice cream from liquid into a solid using rock salt and ice inside a plastic bag. When I was growing up, we used a wooden bucket. At the Skills USA tables, the students were demonstrating how to wrap broken bones, as well as showing the various bones on the skeleton. Skills USA consists of 2 classes that meet here after school under the direction of sports trainer Anthony Garcia. These students have competed at the regional level and have won 3 first-place gold medals, 6 second-place silver medals, and 1 bronze medal. Also, there were 21 students that competed in the medical pathways competition, and there were 14 students who qualified for California state champions. First place winners will then go on to nationals in Kentucky in June. We are all proud of all our students, teachers, who demonstrate such imagination and creativity. Many thanks to the high school for hosting such an amazing event that inspires us all. Thank you.
Mr. Bell.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I would like to echo the comments by both of my fellow board members. was also here participating for STEAM night. I was in the room for most of the day, but as I understand from all the happy kids coming in and out, that it was a fantastic event. So, and also I want to congratulate Mr. Garcia and his kids, and thank you for sharing that with us. I really appreciate that. My comment this evening is really, about us together as a group. And I have always believed that we are stronger together as opposed to apart. And I absolutely support Mr. Gould. I can tell you a short story of a personal nature. I went to school with his daughter, and we participated in a lot of activities. One of them with Spirit Week and such, where we make these crazy bleacher posters. And one year I decided we were going to do the space shuttle, and we were working overnight at his place. And I think somebody said, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could make smoke come out of the exhaust?" And I said, "Well, that's wishful thinking. I don't know how we're going to do that." And I think Mr. Gould heard that, and off he goes. We didn't even know about it. And he comes back and he's got dry ice, and he says, "This is what you do in the morning." And it was amazing. He goes out of his way for the kids. I believe that, and so does Ms. Hupp. As a matter of fact, strange coincidence, but I did go to school with both of your kids. So I have incredible high regard for everyone here on the table. So I hope that exemplifies the strength of what we have, even during difficult times as a district, that we can find a way to work together, to find resolutions to challenges, issues, philosophical differences, however you want to look at it. But at the end of the day, I believe that most problems can be resolved. I believe, again, that we are stronger together than divided. So, thank you.
I have two events. One of them was a STEAM here at the high school, and I spent most of my time with the seminars, and I didn't understand the art participation in STEAM. I think I have a better understanding of it now and how important it really is. And also the other one was the STEAM field, and the field is getting bigger and bigger every year. The other one is I got an invitation to visit the City of Hope. And a couple of things that they discussed there, one of them is that they also, besides cancer, which they do very well, but they also have a building just for diabetes. And the doctors have a goal of curing type 1 diabetes within 5 years. And the type 1 diabetes is the one that hits close to the kids, not the adults. But it is the beginning. The other thing that one of the people that were guiding us around indicated that in the beginning of the year, they have an intern program for anybody that's interested in applying. And part of the application is how much enthusiasm you have to be an intern at the City of Hope. For 10 weeks of hard work, you get $4,000. But it's a very competitive field. A lot of people think it's only for biology people, but it's really just for people who have a passion for going there and learning about what City of Hope does. So I encourage everybody that is a junior or a senior at this school to apply to the City of Hope for the chance of being one of the 80 or 90 people who get to become an intern at the City of Hope. I also echo the statements on the STEAM Expo, very good, and there was a lot of good information. You walk around, it was just so much to see. Thank you.
Thank you. It's always hard to follow this group because they say everything so eloquently, and then it's on me. So I'll echo what they have brought up. I just want to congratulate all of our student athletes. We have several teams that are doing outstanding. They always need support, They don't always get it, but they work hard. They put passion into what they do, plus keep up with their grades. Our teachers and coaches that support them, you know, they couldn't do it without them and the parents and the support group. So I really appreciate that there's such a village that supports our athletes. And I support them too. I don't always sit there in the front of the bleachers. I'm usually in the background, just kind of in the limelight, there to see what they're doing and just see that what we as a district can provide for them. Our seniors who are pushing through right now to graduation. I know it's a tough time, but you know, I have all the faith in the world of your perseverance and what you'll accomplish. I'm very proud of what you're doing. I'm very proud to be a part of what you're doing. And Ms. Weiss, even though you turned down the Naval Academy, which my son attends, I'm proud of what you're able to do and going to USC, and congratulations to that. And as far as theme nights, you know, we as individual board members, you know, we really do try to get to lots of things, and I think we really do honestly try to support everything we can. You know, we have families, and you know, that particular night was something my son, fifth grader Emperor, you know, wanted me to do with him. So you know, he needed some Daddy Dylan time, and I gave it to him. But I just appreciate that the other board members, you know, allow me to tag team, and they filled in and they were here supporting the students and the teachers for that event. I know our students really excel in STEAM, as they excel in anything they do. It's not just STEAM, but you know, our teachers that support STEAM really go out of their way to provide, you know, such outstanding opportunities. And sometimes I feel they're like the unsung heroes because of all the effort and their personal time they put into it and their personal money they put into it. And I'm always in awe of what they put in from their hearts to all of our kids and my child. So I'm always happy to do whatever I can to support what they're doing. Because like I've said before, I think it takes a village, and we're always stronger as a village to get the best for our kids and our families. So that's it for me. Mrs. Spring? Mrs. Spring. Can't believe I said that.
Kathy's fine too.
Kathy's fine too, yes.
Just one comment. I know we've talked a lot about the STEAM Expo. That was our second annual last year. As most of you are aware, as teachers and community members, a year ago we had all separate STEAM nights at the sites, and some of the sites still choose to do that and really show the great work that is put in, and I concur with the rest of the board. Everybody here works extremely hard to have those opportunities for kids. It doesn't come easily. And so our intent last year, and we received mixed commentary from the sites, was never an intent to take anything away from the sites, but actually to embellish and to show our community and our families that what students have the opportunity to do in the Tcusd Unified School District from transitional kindergarten to their senior year. And it has grown into something that I think we can all collectively be extremely proud of. The other night, Friday night, was amazing. The one piece that we added was that we hosted a reception for our college guests that were here, and sadly the Bruins were represented, Cody, but no Trojans. But regardless, I was hugged by a Bruin, and then I realized she was a Bruin, but that didn't stop from us continuing to welcome them to the site. So I appreciate the high school's effort, but it was a collective effort across all school sites, by all site administrators, by all teachers, by all families, that in our food service department. it's something that I believe in, and hopefully more of that can occur in the future. Secondly, in January, I became aware of an opportunity for us to receive a designation as one of the best communities for music education in the country. And interestingly enough, I had read it in a school board magazine, and so and had shared with the board at the time that there was an opportunity, but that there were no guarantees, because there are a lot of schools school districts that apply. And so yesterday, we received the notice of congratulations, and I'll just read a little bit about the distinction that we received. The NAM Foundation seeks to celebrate and recognize innovative and resourceful music education programs in the United States and those schools and communities that support them. This comprehensive survey requests information that reveals statistical and factual information about music education and related opportunities for students to learn music. The Best Communities for Music Education acknowledges districts across the United States for their commitment to and support of music education in the schools. And so after our initial meeting, and it talks primarily about music education, but Matt Byers, Mike Kidd was not able to join us that day. It involves editing, it involves dance, it involves choral aspects and orchestra and band. And so we put all of our collective thoughts together. We featured Giving Bach as well as the Oaks outreach to the hurricane victims. And I have to give credit to Jack Taylor. Christy, honestly, we were concerned about Bert doing the math for the percentage of students involved in music education here in the school district. And so Jack Taylor, I don't know if Jack's here tonight, but Jack, thank you, because the numbers held and we received the award. So congratulations, everyone.
Paying attention?
Alrighty, I have 4 written communications here. I have 2 that are not in support of the current administration, and I have 2 that are in support. One from the McGrath family, where four individuals of the family signed it, and then there's a petition. It's a letter of support from residents of Temple City in support of Kathy, and to my count, there are 61 signatures on here. So that's the written communications I have here at the desk at the time. Okay, we will move on to our discussion information items. These are items that the board would like to discuss, or information presented to the board. These items do not require board action. Our first, we were to have other post-employment benefit actuarial reports presented to us, and unfortunately, Mr. Tcusd had a family emergency, and he offered to rush home to come to this meeting, and I just stay with your family. Family's always more important. So this will be rescheduled for May 23rd, if I remember right. Is that correct? Okay. And this is a very important item that we, as a board and district, really need to get our heads wrapped around. It was mentioned a while back that I had a meeting with our TCA president, which was in a restaurant, and it was OPEB that she primarily wanted to talk about, and where the union and members of the union kind of sit with that. And then there's a member of our community who is very well versed in these items, in his opinion, and they're like way far apart. And then there's a district. So I mean, between these 3 points, the volume there is just massive, and that's kind of where we're sitting at, is trying to figure out where this is supposed to be. So I'm hoping that when Mr. Tcusd can get here, we could hear his presentation, which will be an open meeting. And then we start scheduling some study sessions to really get this handled, because it's a $21 million liability that's going to affect things. And so as far as I'm concerned, there's 21 million reasons that we really need to sit down in the same room with all the stakeholders that it involves and get this hammered out. Because I think right now we're putting like 255,000 or something annually into this, and it's a $21 million liability, so we need to discuss it. And it may take several study sessions, and these study sessions are open to the public. So we'll discuss that, and we'll get things scheduled. We'll probably hear his presentation first, but that's something I would really like that we start getting on to. We'll move on to item 14, which is a review of our Williams complaint quarterly summary for January 1 through March 31 of 2018. This was to be presented by our curriculum coordinator, Sue Min Chow, but she has been delayed out of town, I understand, Sacramento. Are there any questions that anyone has about this review? Kathy, would you maybe like to explain what this Williams review is?
Sure. So we have 4 quarters that we need to report to the Los Angeles County Office of Education regarding any complaints that might be directed to us in regards to adequate school supplies, school facilities, concerns that that would impact education. And so I'm proud to report that we just do a basic form to LACO, but we consistently do not have any uniform complaints that come to us either from our parent groups or any other individuals in the district.
And what would constitute a Williams complaint? Is it a parent going to the school and saying they don't like something, or?
It has to be more specific than that. It could be that they find that there was some type of violation that occurred or a perceived violation that they feel was not addressed properly. They could say that their school site does not provide adequate resources for their child. So those are all, the uniform complaint was put in place a number of years ago to provide another means, but our desire always as a district is that we resolve a situation closest to the individual, and that would be at the school site first, that we want individuals to leave satisfied. Is that helpful?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, that's our Williams complaint review. Okay, we'll move on to item 15 of our agenda, which is a counseling presentation by our Director of Student Services, Ms. Sarah.
Thank you, Andy. I'm glad that you're the one doing that. Good evening, board and cabinet and audience. I'm Sarah Violma, the Director of School to Career Enrichment and Student Services. I'm happy to be presenting today on the counseling services that we offer throughout the district. I'm very happy and blessed to work with such a great team of people at all levels of our schools. And so today I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview, and then we're also going to specifically share a little bit more about the work that they do to promote healthy relationships and substance abuse prevention with our students. Deanne Sharada, the high school counselor, and Lyle Tcusd, the health teacher, are going to actually give us more information after I do the overview on the healthy relationships and substance abuse prevention. I want to start with the mission of our school counselors, and it really is to prepare today's students to be tomorrow's adults. And I want to add also tomorrow's leaders. And the way they do that is through giving students the knowledge and the skills and attitudes to achieve academic success, college and career readiness, and social emotional development. I want to give you just a current snapshot of who our counselors are, and any of them that are here tonight. There's a few that were able to stay. If you could just stand. At our high school, sorry, we have 6 counselors, which is just right for the recommended ratio of counselors to students. So we have Miss Amato, Miss Castro, Miss Aiole, Miss Sharada, Miss Singh, Mr. Marquez, and at the Learning Center we have Mr. Acevedo. At the middle school we have Miss Johnson and Miss Bayardo Porto. And at the elementary level we have Miss Bars, Miss Schmidt, and Miss Hyatt. Thank you. This slide you do not have in the printout, instead the picture printed large for you from the next slide. But I wanted to just talk about where our goals come from. So the counselors, it's actually a national model and national framework for counseling that we use, based from ASCA, which is the Association of School Counselors. I forgot the last initial. And so we use those counseling standards, which are broken up into 3 domain areas, which include the academics, include career, and then include social emotional. The newest addition to those counseling standards are the mindsets and behaviors, which is what I passed out to you. Mindsets and behaviors for student success around college and career readiness. And so there are mindset standards and behavior standards. So those are the goals of what our counselors are trying to make sure that all of our students gain. Learning strategies, self-management skills, and social skills. So our practices, what the work that we do in order to accomplish these goals includes our student wellness team, which we meet monthly as a team of school counselors, our school psychologists, and also our special ed department as well, so that we can talk about any issues, concerns that we want to address as a team and as a district, strategies and best practices that we can share across the district as well. This year as well, we are a recipient of the multi-tiered systems of support, scaling up our practices in supporting all students. And so we've received a grant of $25,000 in order to implement over the next 3 years all of the supports and inclusive practices that we want to put into place for our students. So we have several counselors that are on that leadership and implementation team, and we are going through those trainings and practices in order to put in place the work that we want to see happen. And then the counselors provide direct services to students, and the way they do that are those 3 items at the bottom, which include school counseling curriculum, and that's going into classrooms and doing presentations, individual student planning, so one-on-one work with students and families, and then responsive services to anything that might come up in the day, crisis, or anything that they may need to respond to immediately. Some of the highlights of some of the things that our counselors have taken on this year include mindfulness practices. And so at the high school, our counselor has started doing some mindful meetups during lunch in order to support students in their social emotional development. Some of our schools are doing what are called morning circles to do a check-in with students at the start of each day. What we've identified and worked on this year as a student wellness team include some of these priority areas. So one of the first ones was a comprehensive suicide prevention policy for our district, and then for our school counselors and how we would implement our suicide risk assessments. So we spent a lot of time this year working on that so that we had a consistent approach in doing that suicide risk assessment. The graph that you see is as of I think the end of March, how many suicide risk assessments had been done at each grade level. You see that there had been one done as young as 2nd grade, and then 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th, and up through high school. So it is something that across the nation, we are seeing an increase in needs to addressing this area for students. Health and well-being and just overall confidence and self-image for students as they face all different challenges at school and social media. So that's been one of our focus areas. Reducing anxiety in the classroom and at home, and some of our counselors have gone to workshops in order to bring that back to us here. And then the 4 key components of the linked learning model, which are rigorous academics, a high quality career technical education program, student supports, and work-based learning and how to implement that for our students. So on the healthy relationships and substance abuse prevention, we're going to give you an example of the collaboration that occurs between our counselor and classroom instructors. So as I mentioned, Deanne, Strada, and Lyle will be doing that piece. Before they present, I just wanted to share a little bit about the healthy relationships. So in 2016, the California Healthy Youth Act became law and put into our ed code new requirements for teaching our students a comprehensive sexual health curriculum and other awareness issue areas. So it's an expectation in law that at least once in middle school and once in high school, we cover some of the topics, or actually all of these topics and more in this area. So you'll see some of these topics include teaching a decision-making model to support effective decision-making skills to avoid high-risk activities, communication and negotiation skills to reduce sexual health risk, and then at the high school level, the rights, respects, and responsibility. That's actually the curriculum that we adopted and trained our teachers with, including consent and respectful relationships, negotiation, refusal skills, and then characteristics of relationship abuse, how to identify and respond, and resources for teens. So we, as I said, we trained our teachers in middle school in the science area and then high school in the health area. I just want to mention some of our external partners. So, it doesn't all come from internal, but we have a lot of external partners that we rely on as well. So one of those is our Los Angeles County Office of Education. They host trainings and workshops for us that we participated in and then come back and bring that information back to our district. So on topics such as human trafficking, effects of marijuana, and other workshops like that, suicide prevention. We also are partners with Pacific Clinics and Asian Pacific Clinics, the Children, Youth, and Family Program, and they provide outside counseling services and therapy sessions for individual students and families. We've also partnered with the Asian Pacific American Dispute Resolution Center for restorative practices, and we recently partnered with USC School of Social Work for a telehealth clinic, which they provide virtual health clinical sessions virtually. And then the Grace and Growth Family Center is coming to our next meeting to provide some resources for any victims of abuse. We have a formal partnership with APU for our students to go on to school there with a scholarship, but we've also talked with them about providing social work interns or MFT interns on our campuses. We recently also were selected by ESPN and Major League Baseball to fund 5 of our schools in the NoteBully.org program. So I wanted to thank the board for having us present to you today, and thank you, Kathy, for supporting our work and really to make a difference in the lives of students. And at this time, Deanne and Lyle.
I'm Lyle Tcusd. I'm the health teacher at the high school, one of the 2 health teachers at the high school. And I'm here with Deanne tonight. She asked me to be here to basically give you a quick overview of a little of what I do in my class in terms of drug education, substance abuse education. And you know, when I start off my semester with my students, one of the things I do say is that this isn't just a class about teaching health to you, it's about making better decisions in your lives. And I feel, and we know that with knowledge, we are all, but the students are all able to have the equipment to make those better decisions. And I do tell them, you know, your friends will tell you things, parents even, but I'm here to give you the facts of these different topics. And in drug education, it's a serious, really big problem in our society these days. The growing epidemic of opioids in the country, heroin, prescription drugs leading, you know, the way in that area. The kids these days have a lot of different things that they're dealing with than when I and many of you dealt with as younger people. And with laws changing, like the cannabis, legalization of recreational use of cannabis, that's also going to bring an impact into the society. So, you know, my job is to let them know this is what's going on in our society. So we talked about the various substances, tobacco, leading cause of preventable illnesses, death in our country. About 450,000, 500,000 people die each year of tobacco-related illnesses. Alcohol addiction. We talked about some of the current substances that are floating around out there. I have 2 of our nieces, my wife and I, our nieces are recovering drug addicts from methamphetamines. So I let my students know this is what the life is when we're dealing with those young people. And I hope that with the information that they receive, that will help them to make better decisions in their future. With that, Sarah mentioned the comprehensive sexual health education that we've adopted and the state has. And we talk about a lot of different topics now, a lot more than we used to in the past. And with that, and with all of the topics in my class, whether it be mental health issues, nutrition, I've seeked out different resources. So even yesterday I had a guest speaker from a group known as Fresh Start who came in and spoke about the situation of substance addiction problems in our society with different types of drugs. But I've also looked at our counseling department as a resource. And Deanne and I have worked throughout about the 10 years I've been teaching this class. We've worked extensively in different areas. She's come into my class and given presentations on stress, on healthy body image. Kerry Smith, when he was in the counseling department, also came in and did a couple of presentations. And more recently, we've been working together in our my sex ed education unit, talking about healthy relationships. And one of the newer topics that's come to light is the area of trafficking, human trafficking, and in particular sex trafficking. And it's a really big, you know, topic. It's one of those hot buttons right now that's out there. And not that we are so worried about our community, but it's one of those things that we need to be aware, and our students need to be aware for the safety of all. So Deanne and I have really worked closely together on that. Recently we went to a conference and got some more education there, and we're constantly talking about how we're going to present this to our students. And so this is the collaboration that we do as part of our health education curriculum and our health education classes at the high school. And at this time I'll let Deanne take over. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Deanne Sherrod. I'm one of 6 counselors in the counseling department. I'm going to give you just a general overview of our Healthy Relationships presentation so you have an idea what the students, information that the students receive. In October of this year, Assembly Bill 1227 was passed, directing public schools to educate students about human trafficking, about healthy relationships, boundaries in relationships, and also intimate partner violence. Oftentimes, students start their first dating relationships when they enter high school. And so this is just a basic overview. I won't give you the whole lesson, it lasts about an hour. But this is a basic overview. So we start by talking about boundaries. We share with students that in a healthy relationship, you still maintain your individuality. So you have things you do separate and things you do together. A healthy relationship would resemble more the diagram on the left, and we explain that a healthy relationship is not an eclipse. You each have your own things that you do together. We talk a little bit about respect and what does it look like when we set a boundary and settling disagreements peacefully. We get into that. We also talk about why we talk about dating violence. Nearly 1.5 million high school students nationwide experience physical abuse from a dating partner. And we go on to talk about the importance of establishing healthy relationships in high school so that as we move on through the lifespan, we start a healthy cycle. We talk about what the different types of abuse are, and we give some examples. There's some discussion around that. So we begin with physical abuse. And then we talk about emotional abuse. And we go into some of the examples that I have on here for emotional abuse. We talk about what to do if someone should threaten suicide, such as, I might commit suicide if you break up with me. And then we talk about how to handle a threat if somebody were to do that. We talk about emotional abuse. Is it really abuse? What does that do to you in a relationship if you hear negative messages over and over, especially if you're developing and this is your first relationship? We also talk about home, and sometimes students have examples at home that are very positive models of relationship, and sometimes they have examples that could maybe use a little work. We talk about sexual abuse, and we talk about the importance of being able to set boundaries and not stepping across the line that you're not ready to step across. We talk about not only being physically ready for sexual activity, but also being emotionally ready as well. We talk about examples of sexual abuse. And then we talk about the LGBTQ community and certain topics that can come up, such as if a partner is not ready to come out either to family or others, and respecting those boundaries and difficulties that can arise in these types of relationships. We talk about a relationship bill of rights, and so we go over expectations in a relationship that would be considered healthy and foster a positive relationship. And then we talk about human trafficking. A lot of us may not be aware, but in California, the top 3 states for sex trafficking are in order, are San Diego, Los Angeles, and San Diego. We are 13 miles from Los Angeles, so I think I said San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. We are 13 miles from Los Angeles. So even though it's not a prevalent problem in this community, it is close by and it is something that students need to be made aware of. Dr. Lasher also, when Lila and I got back from the conference, had us speak to staff, because there are certain signs when you see students that might be victims of human trafficking that can be seen in the classroom, such as absenteeism and some other behaviors. And so she also had to speak to staff about that. It's good for you to know this. So we talk about human trafficking, and human trafficking is like modern day slavery. So if we have people, for example, that come and live with guardians, these students can sometimes be at risk for human trafficking. We also talk about work permits and the importance of when our students begin to work that they are not being taken advantage of. We talk about sex trafficking. We talk about some of the risks for sex trafficking. Some of the risk factors, for example, would be students that have a history of sexual abuse, dating violence, low self-esteem, and minimal social support. We talk about the traffickers, what would you need to look for? So we talk about, for example, where they go, that you would find them at malls, you would find them in bus and train stations, group homes, places where young people might hang out. You also find them online, and some of our students use online dating services. I know that's probably a little hard to believe, but they do. And so we talk about the dangers of online and gaming and chat rooms and other places where a predator might be. We talk about peers and classmates. It's not happened in Temple City, but it has happened in nearby schools where traffickers are getting savvy. They will enroll a senior in a school, and they will have that person seek out students that are not well supervised or have other issues that might put them at risk. And so they look particularly for these students and seek them out. Often they will try to enter into a romantic relationship with the student, and they try to lure them to run away, or they try to lure them into the sex trafficking. So we talk to them about a little more in detail during the process about what that might look like. We go over the facts with them, the statistics, why it's important to at least be aware. And then we talk about different examples in schools and what that might look like in a school. One example we have is pretty recently in Tennessee. There was a boy that was in a school. He was being used by the traffickers to recruit young girls. He would get the girls to sell themselves, and then he would make, I think they said $20 for every $100 the girls brought in. So these are things that we want them to not live in complete fear of, but at the same time be aware of, so that if they're out somewhere in the evening, let's say late, and somebody comes up and approaches them, or they're invited to a party, or there's someone they don't know, that they're aware these things do happen. The resources are provided for the students, and we encourage them to look them up. For any of you that are out here that are parents that have young people that are adolescents, the loveisrespect.org website up there at the top is an excellent resource for dating and for having further discussions at home. We sometimes use some of the lessons from there in other classrooms such as teen living as well. So thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you both. Any questions from the board?
Sure. I heard you mention collaboration between each other. Is there ever a need for collaboration between like the high school counselors and maybe middle school? And is there? And even elementary?
Yes. So as part of our student wellness team, we meet together as a group, high school, middle, and elementary, as a way to open up that communication across all three levels.
We do. We collaborate regularly, and at those meetings, we often talk about common themes, things that we're seeing across the elementary, middle, and high school, and then we make adjustments to some of our lessons for each other based on grade level and based on what the topic is. Obviously, some of the things you would see covered there, you know, you might need to share some of the information at a middle school, but it might not be as detailed, so we can make adjustments. We absolutely collaborate.
So the support they're providing in elementary is considered like a foundation for what was needed in middle school?
The Assembly Bill, if you're referring particularly to the Assembly Bill, starts in the 5th grade. And so with the elementaries, depending on the way they're divided, that particular education would start in the 5th grade. So there are different lessons that pertain to that. I'll let Sarah speak to that more.
Our elementary school counselors, though, are providing a lot of support and development for some of the things that our elementary students are facing sometimes at that young age. So the work that they do in preparing and giving those students skills in order to help them throughout the rest of their years is really important at elementary level.
Is that starting at the beginning of 5th grade, or is it more the middle of 5th? Or?
So what Deanne's referring to is the actual specific comprehensive sexual health curriculum, which actually needs to be taught in 7th and 8th grade and then 9th through 12th. So healthy relationships in the lower grades happens in regular classrooms, talking about how they treat each other and their friends and relationships in that sense.
I see, okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, I appreciate the information. Okay, if there's no more questions about the counseling presentation, we'll move on to our discussion action portion of the agenda, which are items that may require discussion, but upon which the board is expected to take action during the meeting. Our first item will be to approve adjustments for the 2017-2018 district budgets. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
It's been moved by Mr. Gould and seconded by Mr. Nolenberg.
So as you will likely recall, the state started requiring about 2 years ago that 3% of the overall budget of the general fund be set aside for deferred maintenance. So there were many years during the budget shortage that adequate money was not set aside for deferred maintenance. So what we do is we make an estimate of that 3% during the budget process. However, we don't make the entire amount available to our maintenance group because we don't know what the actual total expenses will be until later in the year. So after the second interim, which was presented to you just recently, we reevaluated what the total expenses were through the end of February, and this is to make $275,000 more available to them. This does not change the budget of the general fund. The entire amount was already recorded there and presented to you. It's just making it available within the deferred maintenance fund.
Okay. So as the year goes on, we're reactive essentially to what the budget needs are for maintenance, depending on what the current projects that get put on their plates.
So what we're doing is during the year, we review what our actual total expenses are for the general fund, which the deferred maintenance fund gets its money from at 3%. And so this is based on what our total expenses were through the end of February. What we don't want to ever do is make more money available for deferred maintenance project at the sites than we actually will have money available at the end of the budget year.
And do we have a list or some sort of queue of what work is expected for them to do and what projects may be coming down the pipe for them to?
We do so as part of the budget process. We put together a 3-year deferred maintenance plan by site. We work with the site administration to get their priorities, and then we estimate costs for all those projects and then prioritize them. And of course, things come up during the year that we can't foresee. You know, we can have a water pipe break or something else like that, so we keep some to the side to address emergencies.
Okay. Any other questions concerning this budget adjustment?
How much have we spent on deferred maintenance already? Do you know?
I am terribly sorry to not bring that with me tonight, but I can email you later.
But we're
this
gonna
evening.
add another $275,000 to it.
So I want to be careful how we use the word add.
Okay.
You
You're
know,
going to release.
exactly. So it's already part of the general fund budget, which was approved. It's now being made available to the deferred maintenance fund and for that team to use.
Any other questions concerning this adjustment? Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Gould and seconded by Mr. Nolenberg to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Okay, I will move to approve an agreement between the Alhambra Unified School District of the Administrative Unit and Services for the West San Gabriel Valley Special Education Local Plan Area. WSGB SELPA, as presented by Ms. Mindy Arnold. She, please. One more, please. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gould.
Thank you. So we're part of a 14 district group that is considered the SELPA, and so a number of areas that are addressed with us is as a district is basically we agree as school districts which particular areas in special education that we might have. For example, visual impairment is something handled by Temple City. That there is a set amount of dollars, and it's distributed accordingly through the SELPA based on service model and students. Instead of each of the 14 districts administering the SELPA budget and programs, we do that in a collective nature. So once a month, I attend a half-day meeting with SELPA fellow school districts, and we discuss the needs of our district. We talk about the budget. What this is asking you to do is agree to allow Alhambra to continue to be the administrative unit. That is something that has been on an ongoing basis, that Alhambra's large enough, they have a large enough special education population, and they have the ability and the wherewithal to manage the entire SELPA. If we were to do it individually, it would be cost prohibitive, as well as it would limit our opportunities for some of the service models that we're able to have. So what this is doing tonight is attached to this is the agreement verifying that we collectively agree as a school district, along with the other 13 school districts, that we would like Alhambra Unified School District to continue to be the managing the services and the budget and decision-making basically for things that involve the finite aspects of the SELPA region. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Approximately how many of our students does this affect?
Well, currently we have over 500 students and special needs students in Temple City Unified School District. But if we weren't part of the SELPA, that number could be larger, because we would be then having to serve each of our students within the confines of the school district, and we wouldn't be able to do that budgetarily.
Any questions?
Now, what students do we cover in the program?
Well, we have a number of regional programs here. One of them is our visually impaired program. We also share amongst the school districts varying needs of students with varying challenges. So it can be based on numbers, it can be based on need, it can be based on program design. So much of what we currently have in the SELPA was pre-designed about 5 years ago. The way it used to be is that the LA County Office of Education managed, so to speak, all of the regional programs. What happened is that LACO said, we're no longer in the business of managing all these for you, and so then the 14 districts got together and redistributed the service models. So we cover the gamut as a SELPA, but a number of our students are very specifically designed here. Like we might have an MDD program for some of our more severe students. We have emotionally challenged students that are here. So those are just a few of the programs that we have here in Temple City as part of the agreement with the SELPA. But we also have the opportunity to switch students back and forth. For example, the special education preschool at La Rosa. Not all of those students remain in Temple City. Some return to their district of residence because after preschool, their school district may have that program, but in preschool we house that here. So those are just a few of the examples of the types of programs that we have here for not necessarily our students. That is predetermined by the SELPA and discussed at the level. There's also a financial aspect that the director of business services attends to ensure that we're being well represented financially as well, that there aren't other districts, so to speak, having the advantage of more dollars. It's all laid out very specifically based on program and student need. Does that answer your question, Mr. Thank you. Thank you. Mr.
So
Reed? I'm
So
sorry.
we have to pay for transportation?
Yes, we do.
That's the only expense, and the teaching if they go to that. But they all have IEPs, right?
Yes, every student has an individual education plan that drives our decision-making and how the service model. But those are all agreements.
Okay, it's been motioned by Member Marston and seconded by Mr. Gould to approve. If there's no more questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Excuse me. Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Routine items approved by one motion and one vote unless a member of the board or audience requests that any item be reviewed and voted upon separately. Is there any such request?
Items 21, mainly the contract.
You want that pulled and voted on separately?
Just questions, I just have a question.
Okay, but, we're asking if anything would be pulled and voted on separately. So I'm hearing no request to pull and vote separately, so I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah,
Second by Mr. Nollenberg. Questions, sir?
yes. Is all the Oak Civil War stuff going to be paid for by Oak? Or are we picking up some, the district office picking up some of it? The first 2 or 3 on the contract page are Oak for 350 and 350 estimates. But is Oak itself going to pay for most of the
Yes,
Civil War?
as part of their budget.
Okay. And then, the teacher, on the last page, second, page 2 of it, the last item, the one, parents and student number, and we don't have the number, but it's at the bottom, $68,000 to the parents and $9,000 to the attorney, $9,500 to the attorney. That's a settlement for an IEP.
There are a number there are a couple litigation items that have been ongoing for over 4 years. So what we do is we give our legal counsel permission to settle because it's often better for us, given the court costs, to allow them to enter into a settlement. This has been the practice for as long as I am aware, that that is how we've handled the settlements and the agreements. So oftentimes it could have been that the parent agreed to a particular service model, and then there was some changes, or perhaps we were not as thorough as we should have been or could have been in delivering that aspect of service. So what happens is our legal counsel sits down with our special educators as well as the director of special education and states the district's position. Oftentimes a mediator is brought in and then a settlement is reached.
Since we're on this one, I'll go ahead and ask a question. Excuse me. I think it's more for Mary Ann. Is it possible for us to get like a list of what the different fund numbers represent? We just kind of keep on our person, so as we look at this, we understand that this is for Measure S, we understand this for maintenance, and, because, you know, I don't always remember what 01.0 means, you know, and 21 dot whatever, it's a little list would be just helpful to senior moments tend to not remember all these numbers. So, thank you. Pre-sorting, well, that would be helpful too. Yeah, because it's kind of jumbled and, you know, it's hard to understand. Any other questions concerning this particular document? No? Okay, so I believe it was moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Okay, item 29. We're a little behind, but we're okay. Any board comments? It's usually pertaining to wishes for future agenda items or discussions.
A general one for discussion, the only discussion is, and this is something that when I was a federal employee, they did, and they took and they had a kind of like a reading file, which was all the correspondence that went out of the office of the shipyard commander in this case. Everything that went out that was signed by some department head or something, but they all had to go through him because they were speaking in a sense for him. So just a general discussion maybe of whether we should implement something where we see everything that goes out in terms of here's a letter to so-and-so, here's the answer to such and such problem, so that we see it, we as a board. It's a general thing. It's just general.
I'm going to have to ask you to clarify that just a bit more. I'm not quite following.
Well, if so, a good example is the district attorneys or the grand jury investigated schools and bonds a couple of years ago. And I think they gave a copy of the bond report to us. I mean, I got one in the public library because there's one in the public library. And I think you got one from one of the members, and I think the school board got one. But I don't know if all the board members got one.
Talking about the grand jury report that we got? The grand jury report we got a couple years or so ago?
Yeah, it was from, what is it,
Cindy Vance.
And somehow I think we responded to it in writing, but I never saw the writing. And so I'm just looking to have a discussion of in a sense, if a letter comes in, who answers it? And do we get to see a copy of the answer? And what we did at where I worked is at the end of each month, they just put them all together, and there was a reading file with all the department heads getting a copy of it. And you could read through it. And everybody that went to a conference or something that last month, whether it was the IT department or somebody else, and they wrote a report that said, to the shipyard commander in this case, said this is what was discussed, here's some of the potential problems that we see, and et cetera, that would be included. Because that report went to the shipyard commander. It may not have gone to all the department heads, but it went to at least the commanding officer. So he was always aware of what was going on. Just a thought. That's why I want to put it under discussion.
Okay, duly noted. And I'll just reiterate the desire for more study sessions on the OPEB situation that we brought up earlier, and the vast difference in opinion that there is out there.
This is the unfunded liability.
Okay, it looks like it concludes our open meeting agenda. Now move into item 31, which is public comment on closed session agenda items for tonight. Good evening, Mr. Warren. How are you? Okay, this was handed to me in the order that it is. I haven't changed it other than flipping it over so I can go to number 1. And first on the list is Sandy Kidd.
I just wanted you to know I'm currently a teacher at Temple City High School, and I've worked for the district for 24 years. This letter actually is for my daughter, who can't be here tonight, and she is also a teacher at Temple City High School, so I'm going to read this for her. My name is Lisa Kidd. I'm a teacher at the high school and a product of Temple City school system. I regret not being able to be here tonight in person. However, I write to you from Ohio, as I am currently accompanying the Temple City High School drumline on their trip to compete at the Winter Guard International World Championships. Please understand that I am not part of the drumline. I am not the advisor or their coach. I don't even have a child in the program. Honestly, tomorrow will be my first time seeing them perform this year. That said, I am here in the freezing Ohio because they needed a credentialed teacher to go with them to compete. Drumline needed help, so I am here. Did I want to miss school for a week and have a sub? No. Did I want to fly to the middle of nowhere in Ohio and carry around drum equipment on little or no sleep? No. Did I want to leave my family for a week and trust that everything will work out under my husband's watch? Of course not. However, I am here because I support the students at Temple City High School. I am here because I care about what they do, and most importantly, I am here because although this is not my job, it is my job. I am one of the many teachers across the district that go beyond the teaching day, putting in countless hours after school and on the weekend. I help with ASB, plan dances as the sophomore class advisor, coach the high school pep flags team, as well as put on art shows and serve on a number of committees, including the district's own art committee. I do not do this for myself. I do this for Kathy Perini. This is the only way I know, as this is what has been modeled to me through educators like Kathy Perini. I mention this to you tonight to point out that it is because of people like Kathy Perini, those who lead by example, that I am here, and I am sure there are a lot of others who do the same. It is because of Kathy Perini that I extend my workday to help students, as it is what I have seen and experienced on countless occasions while working with her. I know the effect that Kathy Perini has had on my life. I know the effect that I have on my students' lives. She inspires and pushes me to be the best teacher that you possibly can be. To remove her at this critical time in our district would be a travesty. She is the backbone of this district, and one which gives countless hours beyond the workday to make our schools safe and effective learning environments. I ask that you do the right thing and renew her contract, place it on the back on the agenda, and let her finish her vision of the district, as I know it is my vision too. Thank you.
Janet Wong.
This is a letter to our Honorable School Board. Good evening, Mr. Marston and school board members. My name is Janet Wong. I am one of the Temple City School District parents. I'm here today to help represent some of us who are concerned parents of the school district. Many of us have children currently attending Temple City School, as well as those have had children who have already graduated. We're here to ask the board to reconsider the decision of not renewing Ms. Perini's contract. We appreciate the dedicated time and effort put forth by the school board. We would also like to thank all the teachers, staff, and the superintendent. Your years of joint effort have taken our school district to the next level with better standards. We choose to live within the school district. We all know that our kids are learning, thriving, and on the way to become productive citizens. Please allow me to share with you some of Ms. Perini's great accomplishments throughout her time and her superintendent and her 40-plus year experience working for the TC School District. Ms. Perini has a clear vision for the district. Our school district is on the right path. There are an impressive total of graduates that have been accepted into high-achieving colleges. Numerous amount of students have received national achievements and awards. Students have the opportunity to study and grow in adequate environments with the additional of supportive peers, teachers, and staff. Ms. Perini is not afraid to take risks or make commitments. She sets high standard and achievable goals that take effort and commitment. She is striving for maximizing students' potential and developing the positive characters of our children. Many of the former EMPA parents can share with you their first-hand experience with it. Ms. Perini is a great instructional leader. She is knowledgeable and would strive the best practices maximizing student achievement and is supportive to teachers in the school district. We have heard from many teachers and staff who spoke from the last two meetings regarding their respect for Ms. Perini. Her perseverance, commitment, and changes made had a profound effect on our children and their achievements. She is a great communicator with public and with parents. Action speaks louder than word. We have seen her presence and involvement everywhere in our community, including many public meetings and every school event. It is important for parents to encounter a superintendent who is willing to listen, make positive changes, genuinely wants to spend time to help improve our community and the school district. It is difficult to serve and please everyone in the community. In particular, a high-achieving superintendent can be affected by the chance of more frequent opposition. However, Ms. Perini is an intelligent person who has our unconditional 100% trust. We are certain that she is able to overcome, compromise, and work together with the board. She will continue leading our school district in the right direction, if only the school board would allow her a chance to do so. I'm not a public speaker. I graduated from Temple City High School in 1989. I'm a brighter side singer. I just want you to know that I sing better than speaking. But Ms. Perini was here since I was in 7th grade. I just want to let you know that we have collected over close to 600 signatures. If we need to reach 1,000, we will. Everyone here from school, everyone to come from work and rush here. We have a family at home waiting for us, but we just want the board to understand. About a year ago, we just finished our fight with Mercy Housing, homeless housing program, with the help with school board and with the district, with the Temple City personnel. We do not need to fight internally for her to continue. We should automatically renew our contract. Please reconsider. And we are all here tonight to support that. Thank you very much.
Jenny Lee, L-E-I.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jenny. First of all, I would like to appreciate our school board members for serving the community, especially for those that they are senior. And at this time, they're supposed to be home and spend the time with their family. But they are here tonight for the meeting, and they also need to stay up late. Thank you. Tonight is my third time to attend the meeting about about not to renew our school district superintendent Ms. Perini's contract. In regards to the board's existing decision, I have the following concern for our board members. Has anyone thought about the consequence of not renewing Ms. Perini's contract? It could be a bad influence and wrong message to our students. As what you are showing to them right now, and an excellent superintendent contract is not going to be renewed with no reason. I'm afraid our students will be confused and have doubts about loyalty, fairness, compassion, and hope for their futures. For the past years, our board members have been making right decisions for the community. I believe this time our board members will not disappoint us either. Please renew Ms. Perini's contract and let Ms. Perini fight on behalf of the school.
Maureen Wan, W-A-N.
Hi, good evening. I have been living in the Temple City for more than 20 years. Both my daughters attended school since kindergarten, and the younger one just graduated from high school last year. During the school years, they sometimes mentioned that some teachers were bad. They didn't teach, and they played favoritism. They would often stop me from visiting the school as they worry about being punished or creating tension with the teachers. We know it is hard to get rid of those incompetent teachers, even though they would waste the students' whole school year. We cannot do much. I always remind my kids to show appreciation and respect to those dedicated and enthusiastic teachers, and to not take them for granted. Although my children attend Clovelly, I had always been told that Emperor was the best among the schools in Temple City. So I felt surprised to see the news that Ms. Perini, who has built up such a distinct reputation of the school in her 40 years, was going to be terminated by the school board in this way, without disclosing any reasons. When I asked my kids if they knew about the situation, they said they did, and they felt that it was not handled properly. But we could not do anything because the decision was made and the school board was not going to listen. I was disappointed that they felt their voices were not being heard. I'm willing to believe that the board's decision is solely for the benefit of the student and the community. Mr. Marston's explanation was that his happy is being kept confidential, so there's no more speculation or hurt where it's not deserved. The school board did not disclose reasons to lessen the damage, but what's even worse is losing the trust of students, parents, and voters. Disagreement is normal. However, if there is a same goal to benefit students and the community, there will be a resolution. By not explaining any rational reasons, it leads to our doubt of school board's ability to solve problems and their intentions to serve our community. I don't know much because nothing has been disclosed. Our school board has not shown proper respect to the teacher who has contributed 40 years for Temple City. This is not the value we should teach our kids. At last, I thank Ms. Perini for her dedication, her courage to stand up for her beliefs. It is so easy for her just walk away in this difficult situation. Instead, she faces it. I hope our kids can learn this value of not quietly accepting anything that goes against their beliefs. Thank you.
Alice Scythe, S-Z-E.
Good evening, Mr. Marston and board. It was a big shock to me when the board made the decision to not renew Ms. Perini's contract. I have children going to the school here. I'm puzzled, confused, and frustrated like many of the parents here tonight. Why the board would come up with such a decision? I have always been a happy parent because my children are doing well in school. I'm grateful that we have Ms. Perini serving for our schools in all these years. She has been cultivating a safe and enriching environment for my kids to learn, to grow, to strive. With her caring for the student, her 40 years experience as an educator, her effectiveness in teaching, a vision in education, her thorough understanding of the unique cultural mixes in our neighborhood, her constant communication with the public and students, her involvement in our community, Temple City School are exceeding under her guidance. I trust no one but Ms. Perini to lead our schools. And I would like to express my point of view on the last teachers from the last meeting, Ms. Gold. She complained about some teachers being bullied by the superintendent, but I do not see that. I think it demonstrates Ms. Perini is an effective leader who knows how to get to the right person for the right job, assigning jobs to someone who has talent. I think Ms. Gold should address the issue with the California Teacher Union. They could offer help and guidance and to protect the interests of the affected teachers, if there's one. Okay, thanks to the digital era to improve our lives, yet we're living in the era that things are moving in a lightning speed. There's no laid back. It's allowed. In order to our school to balance the budget, we need student enrollments. Our school are competing for students against other districts, charter school, private school, and a fast-growing online school. All parents are at stake when they come to choosing the best school for their children. Ms. Perini is trying hard to make sure our schools stay competitive in this rapidly changing and evolving education marketplace. So what guarantee the board could give us to ensure us our school will not deviate from the right path to continue our high school standard and student achievement? I think you are gambling away our children's, our school futures. If the board would consider and respect the parents, the voters, the taxpayers, the student, you should provide us valid reasons to support your action. Your decision has to be made sound, impartial. It has to be made based upon the interests and benefits of our students with strict integrity. Transparency is necessary to build trust with your constituents. I do not want to see a yes man to the board replacing our fine superintendent, who is an independent thinker with absolute integrity and demonstrates great leadership with one clear goal. Students always come first. What is best for my students? Thank you.
Yoshi Hagawara. Did I get your last name correct?
I'm sure. Good evening. My name is Yoshi Hagiwara, and the biggest question coming here today was really whom do you advocate for? Really, who? It's not, the question is not who do you care, right? We all know you care for our children, correct? But it's really who you are advocating for. That is the question. Because teachers actually have their own advocates called the Teachers Union. And that is a very strong advocate. Teachers don't need advocates. But children, if you don't side with them, and if our superintendent and administrators do not side for them, who then do they turn to? Really, please think about this. My son, I have 2 children at London. My son is in the 6th grade. A couple of years ago, when he was in the 4th grade, he went through a very tough year where every morning. He would cry, scream, yell, do everything. He would hide to not go to school. And it took us a while because we would think, oh, is it his friends? Who is it, right? Eventually, we came to realize that it was the teacher that was creating a hostile environment in the classroom. And that was the reason why he didn't want to go to school. Otherwise, he loves school. He loves challenges, he loves learning. He's an honor roll student. He's never missed an honor roll in the whole entire long run, ever since they started recognizing it for his grade. He's a gate child. He didn't want to go to school. Now, so what do? Right? We find out this is the teacher. We went to talk to the principal because we really didn't want to talk to the teacher, right? Your child having a problem with the teacher, what do? You go and talk to the teacher? That's more of a problem. So we went to the principal. At that time, it was Mr. Rudd. And, of course we liked him. He was a very calmly kind of guy, right? Mr. Nonnenberg, I think, knows very well because I saw you around at the coffee with the principal at London, right? So what did he do? He actually went and turned around and told the teacher. So our great plan didn't quite work. For the rest of the year, until the last day of the school, he yelled and cried and hid and did everything. You have a child, please think about it. You have grandchildren, please think about that. Now, at that time, we didn't really know any better. And of course, we actually worked with Mrs. Schmidt a lot. She's great, counselor. But it didn't help. He still didn't want to go to school. Until the first day of his 5th grade, he kept saying, I don't want to go to school. Now, later on, after Mr. Rudd left, and Mrs. Hong started managing the school, she put in some measures to try and improve the classroom environment. And I only realized after the fact that those were the things that he could have done. And I'm sure Mrs. Hong took some heat for it, but she had the principle to do it for the best interest of the kids. She was advocating for the kids, not the teachers. Because administrators cannot be friends and buddies with the teachers. We need them to stand up for them. Mr. Rudd wanted to be friends, and that is really not the right choice. And I believe that Mrs. Perini is the type of person that would fight for our kids and advocate for our kids. And that's the reason why I'm here. I would like you to seriously think about it. If it is your child, it is your grandchild who's in that situation, who would you rather have as the administrator? Please renew the contract for Ms. Perini. Because our children, all these little kids here, and all the high school students here, they need you to make the decisions on their behalf. Not for the teachers, not for the staff, not for anybody else. Thank you.
Celine Tsai.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Celine Tsai, and I'm the current ASB president of Oak Avenue and next year's high school freshman class president. I was an Ember Eagle since kindergarten, and Miss Perini was my principal. We all know that she works so hard and she really cares about the students. After she became superintendent, I was really excited because I knew that she could do so much for our entire district. After I went to Oak Avenue, I met Miss Gould in ASB and robotics. She also worked so hard, supporting me as my mentor. Last summer, we had an ASB camp, and Miss Gould invited Miss Perini to speak to us. I was extremely inspired by Miss Perini and happy that both Miss Gould and Miss Perini supported each other. Last week, when I heard Miss Gould's speech, I was both shocked and saddened. I could see the divide in our community. I started to feel unsafe and fearful these past few days going to school. I don't know which side my teachers are on. When parents are fighting and want to divorce, they force their kids to choose a side. But as kids, we want our parents to love each other and not divorce so we can stay as a complete family. I respect all my teachers, I respect Ms. Perini, and I respect all of the board members as they are here to represent us. I miss the time when all the Temple City schools were a big family. I don't want to be fearful when I go to school. Can you adults try to work with each other? Please, try to take a step back, communicate with each other, try to work things out and not force us students to choose a side. We are Temple City Unified School District. Please stay unified. Thank you.
Tuan Rong, R-O-N-G.
Good evening. My name is Joy Rong. I'm a parent of two TCUSD students. Both my daughters attended Emperor Elementary School when Ms. Perini was principal. On the first days of school, after I dropped my oldest at her kindergarten class, I attended a meeting held by Ms. Perini for the first time new student parents. During the meeting, I asked Ms. Perini a question. Do you know every student in this school? And as soon as I asked that, I realized it was a bit of a hostile question because it was almost impossible for one person to know so many students. However, I was concerned about my child's safety. At the time, the school gate was open entire days during the class hours. Ms. Perini answered, even though I do not know every student on campus, I can immediately know if someone who does not belong to the school enters the gate or is on campus. Her answer gave me comfort, knowing my child would be in the hands of an attended principal. Over the next 10 years, I walked my children to school nearly every day. Almost every morning, Ms. Perini was at the gate, greeting the students and the parents. One Monday, after a busy weekend, both my kids refused to get up in the morning. After I failed to get them up, I said, if we're late today, Ms. Perini will not be happy to see you at the gate. As soon as the kids heard that, they sprang into the actions and got themselves ready just in time. I told the story to her later that day, and Ms. Perini gracefully accepted the role of the bad cop. And Ms. Perini, as my youngest last years of high school, I don't think bad cop roles will work anymore. At the previous meetings, I heard people say Ms. Perini has worked as a substitute crossing guard at Oak when she was in superintendent. Actually, Ms. Perini worked as a crossing guard long before that. In the 10 years I walked my children to school, I saw many, many times that she worked as a crossing guard in front of the Emperor, guiding the cars and educating the parents not to let their children out of the car in the middle of the road. The safety of the students was Ms. Perini's main concern. When Ms. Perini became superintendent, my family was extremely happy for Ms. Perini and for us. Just like the first days of my oldest in kindergarten, I feel content knowing that the entire school district was in good hands of a competent, caring person who devoted nearly 40 years to this school district and the community. To the board, you were elected to represent us, but this time it doesn't seem like you represent us correctly. I am asking you, at the very least, to tell us the reason that you decided not to renew the contract of Ms. Perini as superintendent. We deserve to know. Thank you.
Kevin Tsai.
Hi everyone, my name is Kevin and I am currently in the 6th grade at Emperor. The first time our family met Miss Perini was when my sister went to Emperor as a kindergartner. On the 3rd day of school, Miss Perini said to my dad, "You have to be here by 8:05. My dad came home and told my mom, "The principal knows who is late." Later, my mom started to volunteer at my school. One day, she was in a hurry and she parked at the end of the driveway. Miss Perini came over and asked, "Whose car is parked in the driveway? You need to move your car away." My mom came home that day and said, "The principal not only cares about things inside of school, she even cares if a car is parked in their driveway." When my sister and I started acting, my mom went to school to ask for the school's seal on our working permit. Miss Perini told the office staff, "These 2 kids are great. Give them the stamp." My mom came home happy and said, "The principal even knows each student's performance." In my house, my dad created a game called Miss Perini is Here. My dad will say, "Miss Perini is here." Then my mom will stomp loudly to our bedroom and my sister and I will hide under the blanket. Then finally falling asleep. When Miss Perini became the superintendent, I didn't know what a superintendent was. I was sad Miss Perini was leaving Emperor, but when I performed in the orchestral concert at Oak Avenue, I saw her. At the STEAM Expo at the high school, I saw her. And in the fundraiser at Emperor, I saw her too. I realized the superintendent works at all the Temple City schools. I was so happy to see her around. Dear board members, I know Miss Perini really cares about us kids in Temple City, and I know she is a great superintendent. Please don't let her go. We want her to stay. Thank you.
Emily Waitman.
That's going to be hard to follow up. Members of the board, my name is Emily Whitman. I've done a lot of thinking since the last meeting, as we all have, I'm sure, and I'm coming to you about this objectively as a former student who went through 13 years worth of teachers here. I don't know who has come to you with issues about Miss Perini. I could make some pretty confident guesses based off my own experiences, but I have no intent of naming names that would be very inappropriate. However, I do ask you to please seriously consider your sources. Most of my teachers were great, but some were pretty bad. They were not effective educators, they had bad personalities, and were poor student relations. And unfortunately, those teachers have been like that for years, stuck in their ways and unable to see that they were doing something wrong and doing a disservice to their students. And they were able to get away with it because we had very poor superintendents. But now we finally have a great one who wants to fix things, and that's purely just a fact. And if I was a teacher who was bad at my job, then a superintendent who wants the best for the students would be a pretty big problem and a threat to my position, wouldn't they? As we have heard in past meetings, many people have not seen eye to eye with Ms. Perini, but still support her. So what makes that small group of non-supporters so different? I'm pretty confident that those people don't respond well to criticism and think that just because they've been doing the same thing for years means they don't need to change, which should not be the case, because actually good teachers always want to change, grow, and improve for the betterment of their students. But what's infuriating is that these people went over Ms. Perini's head, and now everyone else is in the district, to get her fired so they don't have to come to terms with their own problems. Instead of working things out on a personal level, coming to a compromise, or some other way of handling this professionally. Because I guarantee you, she appreciates those who come to her like an adult, no matter what her feelings are. If they felt threatened, maybe subconsciously they're insecure and know that they are ultimately in the wrong. It just seems like they're scared and don't have a leg to stand on, which they probably don't. They're bad enough that I wouldn't mind seeing them go, and they probably should have left years ago. But instead, this all just feels so high school, cliques and rumors and people trying to get someone kicked out. It's extremely childish coming from middle-aged and sometimes much older adults who are supposed to be teaching children. Finally, I agree with some of the speakers from the last meeting. We went straight to an action without doing any sort of formal evaluation of Ms. Perini. And to be fair and unbiased to both sides, I think you should do performance evaluations for those who came to you in private as well, because they're probably not as great as they think. Also, no one was coming to board meetings because the majority of us thought that everything was going great. It's like Yelp. It's mostly just people with negative experiences who go leave reviews and complain. Those with positive ones don't always feel the need to do that. And a few came forward with complaints, but they don't speak for everyone. They don't speak for the 5,000 plus students in the district. From what I can tell, for every one person with an issue, there are 20 to 30 others with positive experiences coming to you on their own accord and trying to change your minds. And since only a few people have issues, work them out individually instead of dragging literally thousands of other people into it. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, again. I'm going to change my topic of what I planned on talking about, and I think everyone in this room knows that I support Kathy wholeheartedly, and nothing that you could probably tell me would sway that opinion. With that being said, I'm a little bit concerned that for those of you in this decision to exercise your privy to choose to not renew a contract and to hire a new superintendent, there's nothing going forward of what your plan is. So what I'm seeing here when I'm going back through your agendas is there's word plays. You use the correct government code, but you change the words to public employee dismissal. Some of the previous agendas have superintendent on there, some don't. That causes me concern because the lay people in this room don't understand the government code section, and it really has to be the correct wording. The other thing I'm concerned about is you have your legal counsel sitting at your table. Was never introduced to anybody at this meeting. Who is he? At that first meeting on Saturday, transparency starts with that. You're not the first board to not renew a superintendent's contract. I guarantee you, you won't be the last. When I sat there, and there are other board members here, again, that have not renewed a superintendent's contract, we didn't have to have our legal counsel sitting there. So that causes me some concerns based on what I've been seeing going on, based on social media posts that probably should have never happened, and on the other side, the rumor control. Because since I don't see any provisions for planning, you're going to terminate an effective superintendent who I asked each of you as board members, where was the district when you became a board member, and where is the district now? Because I will guarantee you it has done nothing but improve. So with that being said, the rumor of how you're going to deal with this situation if you don't renew her contract, which it feels like to me, you're going to keep putting her evaluation now that you've been called out on it for not doing it, on the agenda until you run the time. None of us in this room want to see this evaluation going on and on. You need to put the contract back on the agenda and you need to take a vote and you need to either stand true to what you already are trying to do, which is currently she's not renewed, or you need to realize that you're making a big mistake. The second concern that I have with that is with no plan to the public about what your plan is if she's not being renewed, then that leads me to believe that the rumors that you approached somebody within the district, a subordinate employee, and offered them the position doesn't make that's actually falling into place correctly. So with that being said, I am asking you wholeheartedly, put this contract back on the next agenda, take a vote, and let's move forward. You're at a critical time right now for next year's planning. The last thing I want to say is, based on it takes a village, villages don't mutilate their own. So I would suggest you watch your wording because this isn't a village. A village doesn't go against their own.
record, I'm Bob Ridley. I've served on this board for 9 years. And at our last meeting, I asked you to do the things that will restore trust in the governance team, you and the superintendent. I also would like to make several comments about the allegations that were made about Kathy at the last meeting. While I have nothing but respect for that speaker and can appreciate that she felt she needed to say some things, I think there's some comments that are noteworthy. As a superintendent, Kathy has an obligation to set a tone at the top for expectations of our employees. And she deserves the support of our board in doing that. And the board also sets the tone at the top. I think the district has suffered over the years and has really had a need for a message of fair accountability for our employees. We've had some that haven't performed at the level they really should have, and it's very difficult and time-consuming to take the corrective action. But I appreciate the efforts that Kathy has made to improve our district, and I think the evidence is pretty clear to all of us. I'd also make the observation that constructive criticism is not always well received. Also, the district has a harassment policy which says that an employee who sees something that's wrong or is harassment should report that. I don't know if it was ever reported. And the purpose of reporting it is so that it can be investigated, and if it's fair and honest criticism, that corrective action can be taken. And if it's not, that the person's vindicated that's been accused of something. I think Kathy deserves to be vindicated of the allegations that were made against her. I'm also a little concerned because I don't believe our school district yet has a fraud, waste, and abuse hotline that would allow an employee, a teacher, a student, or a member of the public to anonymously report something so that it could be investigated. I would encourage the district to look into establishing a fraud, waste, and abuse hotline. I'd also state that there are whistleblower laws in the state of California and federally that protect someone that brings allegations, and the board's policy offers that protection to our employees. So I've been through the replacement of the superintendent twice. It's no fun. It was a heck of a lot easier than what you're going through now because those superintendents really needed to be replaced. And you really have an outstanding superintendent in Kathy. So to the board, I truly believe the only course of action that will be in the best interest of our students and our district is for you to finalize a fair and accurate performance evaluation based on facts, not allegations, and that you and Kathy jointly agree on the goals that will be established for the coming future, and that you take the next step to negotiate an extension of the contract. For full disclosure, I would like to say I am a very proud UCLA Bruin. And Kathy is my favorite Trojan. Also, both of my children went to Emperor when Kathy was the principal, and we loved that time. Thank you.
Lori Johnson.
Good evening. I'm Lori Johnson. I'm a counselor at Oak Avenue Intermediate School. I've known Kathy Perini for approximately 30 years. I've worked under her leadership for approximately 25 of those years, so perhaps I know her better than many that are in the room tonight. Many have spoken about Kathy's passion for the students of Temple City. Kathy's advocacy for students is in part because she grew up with a father, Bill Perini, who as a principal and school counselor in Temple City was just as passionate an educator. They both shared a great love for this district and are highly respected. Thus, it grieves me to hear Kathy maligned by some, but I believe that is because they don't know her well. Something you may not know about Kathy is that she was raised in a home that experienced the challenges of living with a parent who suffered with a chronic disease. This illness eventually took her mother's life. Through this experience, Kathy had to learn to either retreat from the difficulties or embrace the challenge. As such, she developed an incredible tenaciousness which is exhibited in her leadership style. She is strong-willed and stubborn at times, particularly when it involves doing what is right for kids. Unfortunately, a few people interpret this as bullying. Sometimes people confuse assertiveness with aggression or bullying, but they are two very different things. I think I can speak to this as I teach bullying prevention at Oak. Kathy is assertive when she feels that kids are being shortchanged in any way and takes very seriously her responsibilities to give the students of Temple City the very best educational opportunities that can be provided. As a leader, she knows that in education, it can be very easy to maintain the status quo in an environment such as a classroom, in which one person exercises total control. Unfortunately, sometimes this allows for individual kingdoms to be built, creating a culture of people who are unwilling to be led. This is Kathy's challenge. Business entrepreneur Ray Kroc once said, "The quality of a leader is reflected in the standards they set for themselves." Kathy's work ethic and personal values and faith are reflected in her many achievements and through the progress in education of the students in this district during her tenure. That is why tonight I encourage you as a board to listen to the voice of reason and vote to renew her contract. Thank you.
Mary Saxon.
Good evening, Board of Education and community of Temple City. Before I get started, what I'm going to share is just a little personal anecdote about Kathy tonight, but I do want to give a shout out to our Chinese American community. Thank you for coming out tonight. I sincerely appreciate your voices. Okay. So a little over 4 years ago, I had just been released from the hospital the day before, and the day before a board meeting. So I was standing up at a board meeting, pleading with the board to reverse their decision not to renew Chelsea Candy Smith's contract. So the thing is, the difference is that Chelsea had asked me to speak on her behalf, and so I did. Now, as I was leaving the podium, after I finished speaking, I tripped over a cord and I fell flat on my face. So Kathy Perini, who was not a supporter of Chelsea, quickly jumped to her feet to assist me and make sure that I was okay. And she asked me for days afterwards, and she seemed very caring. So I was truly touched by her kindness. Now, another board meeting later, Kathy was appointed as our superintendent. I was elated. I thought that is the perfect choice. Totally everything started to make sense to me. And I thought, why didn't the Board of Ed appoint her 4 years earlier? So that we wouldn't have had to go through the thing with Chelsea. So I thought, finally, they hired someone who knows our district inside and out. And also on a personal note, I was ecstatic that as a newly elected council PTA president, I would be working closely with the legendary Kathy Perini. Finally, I would get a taste of the leadership that Emperor was able to thrive under. And then after I turned out, the current PTA president, Dawn Duhamel, was ecstatic as well because she wanted to work alongside Kathy because of the leader that she is and because of her unwavering support of the PTA. which is the Parents Teachers Association. Parents and Teachers Association, that is every voice, is one voice for every child. Okay, so I'm going to close with this. Kathy Perini is a leader who takes care of business. Her business is doing what's best for the students. That's why the majority of us are here. We want what's best for our community of students, and that's Kathy Perini.
Good evening. My name is Layla Herman, and I believe I forgot to mention at the last meeting that I'm a teacher at Temple City High School, and I have been for the past 23 years. I'm not a teacher nor a parent from Emperor Elementary. The reason why I want to make this perfectly clear is that rumors abound right now, and nothing is being done to quell those rumors. Rumors that only parents of Emperor Elementary are standing up, only teachers of Emperor Elementary are speaking up and supporting, and this is simply not true. So let's not continue to feed and encourage lies, shall we? Must I remind adults that children are watching and listening, and they understand a lot more than you think? For the record, there have been numerous teachers from Longden, Oak, La Rosa, and the high school who have spoken in support of our superintendent. With regard to parents, there have been parents from Longden, Steve Swan, for example, parents from the high school, May Ho, and yes, parents from Emperor as well. And let's not forget the students, because isn't that who we're here to serve? And they have spoken as well. The largest amount of students were from the high school. So, again, it's very clear to me that we have quite the variety of representation with support for our superintendent. Therefore, the conclusion is the rumors are wrong. However, the damage they have caused to this community may not be repairable. The rumors have been allowed to continue, and the silence from the board continues to foster those rumors. Even though we were told in the email sent out on March 23rd that we would get more information after spring break, I'm thinking that was a lie, as we have been given absolutely no information. None. It has been 4.5 weeks. What are you waiting for? And more rumors. She's too tough. We're too scared to speak up. We're too intimidated. Given the success and the forward movement of our district in the past 4 years, it is in fact the complete opposite. We have thrived. With distinguished school commendations, and just yesterday our district received a national recognition for our music education program. Does this seem like a district that is operating under intimidation? That we are stifled? Or is it the complete opposite? Do we finally have direction and support? Are there standards and expectations that all are accountable to uphold? If you're feeling intimidated, then perhaps you're not doing your job. Well, then your boss has the right to call you out on it. And if you're not doing your job, then your boss must call you out on it. I have many friends who work in corporate America. Do they have a healthy respect, and some might say fear, of their boss? Do they feel intimidated when they are called out for not doing their job? Yes, as they should. I feel it is important to note when a male supervisor calls people out on their ineffectiveness, society tends to say he's tough, he has standards, he's a strong leader. But when a woman does it, we know the terms that are used about her, and it's not kind, flattering, or complimentary. So is this what's happening? As a woman, our superintendent is not allowed to be tough. She's not allowed to have standards and expectations for her staff. It seems you are judging her by a different standard than her male counterpart would be judged. Isn't that sexism? It certainly sounds that way to me and quite frankly to others. In your March 23rd email, it states, "Our desire is to have individuals in place for the long haul who have been instrumental in helping to make TCUSD the great place that it is," end quote. The long haul? So is Kathy's age a problem? Again, troubling. This is troubling as it speaks to age discrimination. In a day and age of complacency, it is invaluable to have a leader that leads by example and action. Things get done now. You've heard this by numerous people. The people have spoken. I think you heard them, but I'm not sure that you've actually listened. I implore you to do the job you were bestowed upon by the citizens of Temple City. Listen to them and respect their wishes.
Mr. Clark Mason.
Superintendent Brady, Board President Marston, board members, and all of the peeps for Brady in the room, and of course watching on the Rampage feed, and for you little bit in Ohio watching us as well. Good evening, my name is Clark Macy. I am not an employee of the Temple City Unified School District, nor am I a parent alumni of Emperor Elementary, though I did go to that school starting in the late 60s. After viewing digital recordings of the last three board meetings, the only thing not clear to me is what has occurred that has been so egregious that the risk of the school district is so bad that the board feels that the only way to move forward is without Kathy Perini as superintendent. And folks, that's the issue. Without hearing from either side, the only option that we have on this side of the lectern is to make things up. While I truly believe that the board does have the district's best interest in mind as it moves to a new direction, heading without Kathy leading the way is something that I, for one, just don't comprehend. I don't understand it. As we all know, and knowing the history of decisions in the district and how they can affect the schools, the staff, the morale of the students, and the parents over the last 3 to 4 decades, that helps us to repeat some of those same bad decisions, and therefore I think Kathy's presence and leadership is so vital to this district. It's ironic also that knowing some of you board members personally, that this would be the type of thing that would motivate you to run for the school board. I'm also making up that during your closed sessions, the two sides are talking, trying to negotiate the district's future, and I do like it when President Marston comes back and says, we're still talking. So when you go back tonight to talk and enter your closed session, I hope that 2 things occur in this order. Number 1, find the courage to partner together to reduce the risk that is so concerning to the board. And do it with Kathy Perini still as the superintendent of schools in Temple City. Thank you.
We have about 10 minutes left for comments. We started at 40, we're at almost an hour now. So about 10 more minutes, please. Mr. Jack Taylor.
Good evening. My name is Jack Taylor, and I have taught for over 20 years in Temple City Unified at Oak Avenue Intermediate School, Cloverly Elementary School. No, she's not perfect, but I ask those of you who want her to go, do you really think you are going to find someone who is more personally invested in the success of our district? I am on campus at many schools in our district. I see more technology than I've ever seen before. Test scores continue to rise at each site I'm at. The facilities look better than they've ever looked before. Even the water fountains work at every site. The men and women doing the important work of keeping up our facilities are finally getting new vehicles and the tools they need to improve campuses for students, families, and staff. I'm sure Kathy would defer credit to someone else if she could, but make no mistake about it, these things didn't happen to this magnitude before Kathy arrived. As Kathy noted, yesterday we were notified that NAM, the National Association of Music Merchants, has recognized Temple City as one of the 2018 best communities in music education, but this was because of Kathy. She got us together, and if you know our schedules, that is really hard. She gathered all the information. She didn't say this. She's the one who sat for hours inputting all the information in. She's the one who wrote all the writing and all the documents that it took to nominate Temple City for this award. And for what? Her gain? No. For us. For you. A precious stone is only found once in a generation, folks. It appears now that we are willing to just toss this one aside in hopes of finding another one. I've been here long enough to tell you it ain't gonna happen. It's not likely to happen. We would do better by sticking with Perini, the priceless gem that she is. You are all good people. I've worked with all of you, and you are all very sincere, and I respect you all. I just personally believe you are sincerely wrong this time. Thank you.
Dennis McNulty.
A little different, got rid of Hawaiian Joe. I figured let's get serious tonight. I got a confession to make. If I ever grow up, I want to be Bob Ridley. Okay? Anyway, it's nice to hear these guys talk and the lady talk. Last time I was in front of them, I thought I was visiting Mount Rushmore. But, no, them talking showed that they are people. And nobody's questioning are they good people or not. We're just questioning the decision they made. They did almost induce a building-wide coma, but I see some of the speakers got everybody back on their toes, okay? I do have a point to make. I just want to say a couple of things. One about the process. Some people have been up here knocking, say, I heard the word toxic, I heard people scared. Come on, let's be serious. Democracy is messy, okay? But it beats the heck out of anything else. I see one or two Asians in the crowd, you know? And Asians understand a thing called oligarchy, where all the power is in the hands of a small group. Go to Cambodia, talk Pol Pot. You want to talk about Chairman Mao. You want to talk about the Kims. You want to talk, every country over there has an oligarchy. You think Ho Chi Minh's rough? Go see what Deng was like in South Vietnam, okay? Asians can appreciate it. And democracy is the way to go. By the way, if Robin was right and we got 3 family members in big positions, that's getting dangerously close to an oligarchy right there. I think that should be addressed more. I don't understand all the energy put into solving a problem that's not a problem. If you got a superintendent for 3 years and it's she hasn't ruffled some feathers, you should fire her. She's a politician. She's incompetent. That this is incredible that this woman's not getting death threats from some people as good a job as she's doing. So, let's get to the point where eventually I get to the point where I want to make. I'm not going to try and sway your vote. You're going to make your vote. All I want you to do is do it. Now, I read somewhere that Mr. Marston was in the military, so was I. I was on a destroyer out there in the Atlantic, and we had about 250 guys on the ship, and we had 8 potties, okay? We called it something different, a little more descriptive, but in deference to the future mayor of Temple City, that kid was awesome. I'll call it potties. So, because we're all on the same schedule, we all eat the same time, wake up the same time, go to bed the same time, any person over 60 will understand when I use the word regular, okay? So we usually had lines. And there was a saying that, again, for the mayor, poop or get off the pot. And that's what I would like these guys to do. Make a decision. I guarantee you, no one's going to commit suicide when you decide. Right? You owe it to us, you owe it to yourself. Make a decision, stand by it. That said, if it turns out that I don't like that decision, I will work as hard as I can to make your political lives miserable. One final saying, I hope I don't insult anybody. There's another old saying, life is a bitch and her name is karma, and that's what I'm leaving you with.
Okay, for our time limit, this will be our last speaker, Mr. A.D. Yoder.
So hi, my name is A.D. Yoder, and I'm a freshman at Temple City High School. First off, board members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Last time I was here, I just spoke from my heart. Since then, I've thought about things more, and I wanted to share some additional thoughts. In the special message to families that you posted on the district website after the March 21st meeting, where you voted not to renew Ms. Perini's contract, you stated that your decision, quote, was based solely on our intent to continue in the direction that Ms. Perini has set for us. Who better to lead us in the direction that Ms. Perini has set for us than Ms. Perini herself? She wants to stay on as superintendent, and the majority of the district wants her to stay on as superintendent. You went on to state, quote, our desire is to have individuals in place for the long haul who have been instrumental in helping to make TCUSD the great place that it is. Ms. Perini has been instrumental in making TCUSD the great place that it is. She wants to stay in place, and we want her to stay in place. When the time comes for her to retire, whether that is next year or in 5 years, she is willing to help transition us into the new leadership for the long haul that you refer to. You also stated that as a board, you are forever grateful for Ms. Perini's tireless, countless years. Have your actions or decisions demonstrated your thankfulness? If you were being honest in that letter, then why not allow Ms. Perini to help us accomplish the very goals and desires you described? Who better to do that than Ms. Perini herself? You closed the letter asking for our patience and understanding. You stated that you would have more information following the break. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was nearly a month ago, and we have not heard anything. What news have you shared with us since then? At the end of the last meeting, Mr. Marson said that the fact that the public didn't know the reasons behind the board's decision and the reason why we haven't heard anything as to how you could have come up to make your choice was, quote, a testament to the true character of this board. I think it's important for you to know that it does not look that way to us.
Nope.
From what I've been taught, secrecy is not a mark of true character. The incredible lack of transparency you've demonstrated actually suggests special interests, tunnel vision, and quite frankly, ego. You also mentioned not wanting to air dirty laundry. That statement makes it sound as if there are other issues at play here. The real reasons behind your decision are very different from what you wanted us to believe in your letter to families. We are left wondering what is really going on here. Our questions continue to go unanswered, and as a result, the resentment, distrust, anger, and sadness continues to build, as evidenced in the heartfelt speeches we've heard over the past several weeks. With all due respect, this board has an ethical responsibility to hear us, to listen to the hundreds of stories and examples we are sharing, to weigh the facts, and ultimately to represent the majority. Just to clarify, you have now heard overwhelming support for Ms. Perini directly from the current and former students, parents, staff members, and former board members who were voted in, community members, Ms. Perini's non-TCUSD colleagues, and at least one of her superiors, and from the general public. That's quite a comprehensive and definitely an impressive list. In school, we are constantly told to back up our arguments, to cite our resources. Our community has done that here. We have provided more than enough examples and abundance of cited and personal references in support of Ms. Perini. We are asking you to carefully reconsider your decision. Thank you.
Okay, I'll move that we adjourn to closed session. Second by Mr. Gould. All in favor? If you raise your hand, I can hear you. Okay, that's 5.
They did.
It's in the
Why?
back.
No, there's stuff.
Oh, Chamberlain, follow the cool. You want one? That's proud. had her at Oak and at high
学。 Connect. Boleh nggak nih? 1999.
No, dude, I'm a pro, bro. It's fine. At least walk me to my car. Come on. Walk me to my car, bro.
It was so pleasing myself.